this is not my regularly scheduled broadcast time, and I am at the moment kind of recovering from a procedure today, so speaking is actually not the easiest for me. But I thought this was too important to not jump on here and share a couple thoughts, because tomorrow is election day, and as my platform with you guys has grown, and I know some of you kind of turned to listen to what I have to say, I thought it was kind of critical to see if I could offer any thought or any little nugget that might be useful to you, that maybe would encourage even two of you to go vote if you haven't already. I thought I should jump on here and do it. Now, generally here on Ecstatic Self, I generally try to avoid being overly political. You'll hear me on occasion make a comment of some kind, but I generally try to let my focus be on compassion, love, tolerance, self-acceptance, and given those are my priorities, you could probably take a wild stab in the dark as to my political leanings. But the reason I'm actually getting on here today is not to try and convince you that one ideology is better, if we even think that Democrats and Republicans are still based on ideology, right? Because I definitely have my perspectives on what is good policy, but that is not the point. The reason I'm encouraging you to go vote, if you have not already, is I've been doing a lot of research and reading about how countries move from democracy, a place where you have rights and privileges and can basically pursue the kind of life you want to have, and move into totalitarianism, civil war, move into a sort of state where, a state where we have an autocrat in power. And all the people who make that their life's work, who really do the research of how do people move from a free and open country to a place where it's really uncomfortable for a lot of people to live, say we are very, very dangerously close to civil war and losing our democracy. And we can be glib about it, we can make jokes about it, we can think, hey, it will never happen to us. And would it really be that bad if we had an autocrat in power or a dictator in power? But it is. And as somebody who loves history and loves studying other cultures and traditions and how have things come to pass, it's not a far stretch of the imagination to see it happening here in a very short amount of time. And regardless of what you believe on policy, fiscal responsibility, small government, big government, state rights, federal rights, I really don't care. Because this election is not about that. This election is about, will we have a democracy within the next 2 years? Because other countries are betting that we won't. Canada has made it their national policy to assume that America will have descended into dictatorship within the next few years, and within 5 years into full civil war. And the idea that many of us will end up in refugee camps, many of us will end up living in cities where bombings and terrorist attacks become commonplace, even more than they are now with these horrific shootings that take place. It's not a far stretch of the imagination. And while there will be people telling you that there are good people and bad people on both sides, if you listen to my videos enough, you know that I am not a big believer in good or bad. The fact of the matter is that one of the political parties has been pushing stronger and stronger towards destroying our democracy. And it is a party that has become a grievance party of, frankly, old white men afraid of losing their power, and that's how civil wars usually start. A group of people who have traditionally held power feel that they're losing it, and so they go to war. I think one of the most graceful things we can learn as human beings is to gracefully step down, to gracefully say, I've had a great run, I've experienced growth and expansion, and now it's time for me to learn also to accept loss and experiencing things becoming more diminutive, smaller. That's honestly part of the reason that I stopped acting, was saying, you don't need more people like me. You don't need another white guy trying to take up roles when there's a lot of other people who've never gotten the opportunities. Let them have the opportunity now. I'm usually a person who would say, good people exist on both sides. Vote for who you think has integrity. Vote for people who you think really supports your values. But the truth of where we are at this historical moment is one party has embraced election denial, has embraced the idea of winning at all costs, including throwing our rights and liberties under the bus. And quite frankly, it is too precarious of a situation to allow any of that power. And so, a few steps ahead, if they get control of Congress, it is very likely that we will descend into civil war in the next 4 years. It is very likely we will lose our democracy. You will lose your rights. As a gay man, I will probably lose my right to being married to my husband. Women have already lost their rights to their bodily autonomy. And that is just the beginning. And so I encourage you, if you haven't already, to take this evening and study how these things come to pass. And so realize that we are truly at a precipice moment. And I would enthusiastically encourage you to vote for people who are trying to give access to all Americans, including, ideally, people who have been incarcerated. Because I think it's so horrible that just because you committed a crime, suddenly you lose your right to a vote. But that they're creating space for all people's votes to matter. To please vote for people who believe in research and science and truth, that know that there is a climate Armageddon very likely on the horizon, and we have a small window to mitigate it. Who believe that every person is entitled to the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their immigration status. To believe that America has never been a perfect place. It has been a really fucked up place from the beginning. But we can strive to do better. And so I encourage any of you who thought maybe I'd sit home tomorrow, maybe my vote doesn't matter, to say it does. Voting is a very small act that we can do, but in this instance it matters. And if you want me to create an edited video where I kind of dive into the nuances of what's going on and the research I've done, I'm happy to do so. And like I said, I try not to get too political, although I do think kindness is a political act, respect is a political act, caring for your brothers is a political act, self-love is a political act, authenticity is a political act. I mean, in some ways, everything I post on this channel is political. But remember this, when they tell you this vote is about the economy and inflation, it's not. No one government's really going to be able to do that much, and it's not just an American problem. It is a worldwide problem right now due to COVID. No party in power is really going to change it. But once our system breaks down enough, once the guardrails are gone, the checks and balances are gone, the people who want to do the right thing, even if it's uncomfortable, are gone. The people who tell you, yeah, this is a complex situation, and if someone tells you it's simple, they're wrong, are gone. We will likely not get it back. Or if we do, it will only be through blood and revolution. To lose your place in society is a very painful thing to go through. And I have so much empathy for the people who feel like they've lost out on the American dream that they've been promised, that they saw their fathers be able to support their families on a single income. And it is so fucking unfortunate that we don't have a world like that anymore, where you can work an average job and have a decent life, where you can afford a home and family and kids and vacations. It fucking sucks. It fucking sucks that houses now on average cost over $400,000, which is insane. This world is not perfect, but it is a hell of a lot better than it could be. And for all of its problems, I am so grateful to be an American living at this time. I do think there are other places in the world that are wonderful to live, and in some cases even better to live. But I think it is an immense privilege to be an American, and I'm so grateful to be here. And so please, do your part. It feels so little, and it is. It's such a tiny little thing. It's a drop in a very large bucket. But it matters. And so tonight, this is me trying to do my little drop in a bucket, and I don't know if it will matter to anybody. I don't know if I will entice anybody to vote who wasn't already going to. And I doubt I probably changed anybody's minds. But if ever you have views that you think are contrary and would like to have a civilized conversation about why, I'm happy to do so. Because I believe we have done ourselves an immense disservice by saying, don't talk about politics. Because to live is a political act. To be married to a man is a political act. And if we had these open and frank conversations with each other, perhaps we'd be in a different place. And the last thing I'll leave you with is to please reinstate your faith in humanity. Believe that even though people do shitty things, most of the time they have good intentions. The people running this country and running this world are generally not nefarious. They're not trying to steal something from you. They're not lizard people who sacrifice babies and drink their blood to stay youthful. Most people are doing the best they can with limited resources in a very difficult time. And I know we live in a cynical age that likes to think the worst about people. But I promise you'll have a better life if you assume the good in others, and the good in their intentions, even if those intentions fall far short. And to remember that things are always more complex than they seem. And if you're genuinely curious to know about why things are the way they are, there are resources to help you understand. Fabulous books and documentaries and articles. But do your research. And remember, the simple answer is hardly ever the right one. So go vote tomorrow. Vote for people with integrity who are striving to save our democracy, who are trying to make this a better place for all people. And if someone leads with fear or leads with anger, they do not have your best interest at heart. And if you get your news from a place that tries to instill fear and anger, they do not have your best interest at heart. Because no decision ever made out of fear and anger is ever the right one. At least seldom. Choose peace, choose love, choose tolerance, and do what you can, as little as it may be. Thank you for listening. This was me being brave because I think there's a fear of isolating people. I know there's people who follow my channel who politically don't agree with me. I know there's a lot of guys on here who, follow me because of talking about maleness and macho-ness, and that can often cross political spectrums. But I invite you to sit with it. And if ever you need deeper conversation, I'm always here. All right, that's my 15-minute rant. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck to you all. And as they like to say, God bless America. And let's see what happens.